I used to believe that love, the kind only a mother gives, would be enough to carry me into old age. Not with riches, not even with thanks, but at least with dignity. I was wrong, because the boy I once fed when I had nothing left grew into a man who invited me to a party just to pretend I never existed. My name is Marianne Holloway, and for most of my life, I was just a school teacher. 35 years teaching second grade, 15 years running the after-school program, and countless nights grading papers by the light of a kitchen bulb older than half my students. After my husband passed from colon cancer in 1994, it was just me and my boy, Brian. He was 12, too young to lose his father and too proud to ever show how scared he was, so I stayed strong. I skipped vacations, clipped coupons, packed cold lunches, and said no to new clothes so he could have what he needed to thrive. By the time he turned 30, he was working on an education startup. Bold idea, big dream, but the banks wouldn't fund him. No assets, no credit history, no real adult to co-sign. That's when I stepped in, not as his mother, but as his foundation. I signed the first paperwork under my name, opened a business license, used my own house, the one Ray and I built with our bare hands, as collateral to secure a $180,000 line of credit so Brian could start building his dream. He promised he'd pay it back, said he'd keep me listed as co-founder on the documents until he got things rolling. I didn't need my name on anything. I just wanted to see my son become something good, something proud. Back then, I believed that was enough, that one day he'd look back and say, I got here because of my mom. That day never came. Instead, I got an invitation. Thick, glossy, expensive, embossed with gold foil and Brian's corporate logo. It was for a retirement gala. For me, hosted by Holloway Learning Solutions. But my name? Tiny, impersonal, printed in the bottom corner, in honor of Marianne Holloway, former educator. No mention of mother, no hint of where he really started. And I knew then, I hadn't just been forgotten, I'd been erased. The night of the gala, I stood outside the hotel entrance for a full minute before going in. It was one of those new boutique places, the kind with white marble floors and employees who all wear earpieces like the Secret Service. I smoothed out the wrinkles in my thrifted navy dress, took a breath, and stepped through the glass doors like I belonged. Nobody at the check-in table recognized me. Name, the young woman asked, barely looking up. Marianne Holloway, I said. She clicked through a digital list and handed me a gold-rimmed place card. Table 14. Back of the room, I found my seat, between a woman in a silk pantsuit who smelled like money and a man who kept checking his watch. Everyone was in their finest. Sequins, tuxedos, laughter, a little too loud. All of it felt curated, artificial. Then I saw him. Brian, on stage, adjusting his tie as the MC introduced him like royalty. The visionary founder of Holloway Learning Solutions, he said, as the crowd clapped. No mention of the teacher who signed the first licensing form. No note about the woman who put up her home so that a tech platform could be born. Brian smiled into the mic like a man who'd built everything from nothing. From nothing, I waited to hear my name. Maybe at the end, maybe as a quiet thank you. But when he said, and tonight, we honor the people who shaped my journey, he pointed to his high school mentor in the front row, a basketball coach, not his mother. The applause was thunderous. If you've ever felt invisible in a room full of people who owe you everything, you'll know what I mean when I say, the silence inside is louder than the noise around you. That night, something broke in me. Not from anger, from clarity. Have you ever watched someone take credit for what you sacrificed to build? Tell me in the comments. Not because misery loves company, but because silence has already taken too much from us. I walked out of that gala with my name still printed on the place card, the only thing there that seemed to remember who I was. And for the first time, I didn't cry. I planned. The morning after the gala, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the centerpiece I'd taken home from the event. A glass vase filled with fake hydrangeas and LED fairy lights. A small card attached read, "Thank you for your years of service to education." No name, no signature, no warmth. Just mass-produced gratitude. It sat there like a joke in the middle of my quiet, aging kitchen, where I used to pack Brian's lunches, iron his school uniforms, and sew curtains out of fabric scraps because I couldn't afford new ones. He used to sit in this very spot, his legs swinging, asking me if dinosaurs had birthdays or if clouds had feelings. And now, he threw me a party with gold chairs and cold canapes and made sure I sat far enough back that no one would hear me if I coughed. That was the part that stung. Not being honored, not even being forgotten, just being written out on purpose. I didn't even tell anyone I was his mother that night. What would be the point? No one would believe me, not with how polished his story was, how clean. Marianne Holloway. The bootstrap genius, self-made, visionary. No room for an aging public school teacher in that narrative. And still, part of me made excuses. Maybe he just forgot. Maybe he meant to say something but lost track. Maybe he was trying to protect me from embarrassment. That part of me, the mother in me, was still clinging to the child I once raised. But the woman in me, she knew better, so I pulled out the old lockbox from the hall closet, the one with raised dog tags, Brian's baby bracelet, and our original mortgage papers, and buried underneath everything, I found it. The Articles of Incorporation for Holloway Learning Solutions, registered 6 years ago under my name. I'd forgotten I'd kept it, or maybe I'd just buried it so deep I didn't want to remember. But now, holding it in my hands, I felt something I hadn't in years. Not sadness, not regret. Resolve. If I was going to be erased from the story, I'd be the one holding the pen when it happened. I took the bus downtown that Thursday, not because I couldn't afford a cab, I could, but because I needed the time to think. The city rolled past my window like an old memory. The sandwich shop where Brian and I used to split a BLT on Fridays. The library where I helped him fill out his first college application. And finally, the law office that had once handled our family's will when Ray died. Jasper Clay was still there, older, slower, but steady as ever. When he saw me walk in, he stood from behind his desk and gave me a warm nod. The kind people give when they're not sure if they're about to handle paperwork or heartbreak. I need to know if this still means anything, I said, placing the folder on his desk. Inside, the original business license, the property lien on my house, bank transfer slips from my retirement account, every dollar, every signature, every forgotten promise. He put on his glasses, leafed through the pages, and frowned. You kept all of this, I nodded. I didn't mean to, but I guess somewhere deep down, I knew. Jasper sat back in his chair, exhaled. Legally, the company's ownership has changed since then, but this, he held up the business license. This is the foundation. You weren't just an investor, Marianne. You were the legal starting point. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just said, then it's time they remember that. He leaned forward, gentler now. Are you thinking lawsuit? No, I said. I'm thinking truth. That night, I made tea in my chipped blue mug, the one Brian had given me for Mother's Day when he was 7. It had a tiny drawing of a sun, and the words, "You are my light." The handle had cracked years ago, but I never threw it away. I turned it in my hands, thinking about what light meant now, and how long I'd lived in the shadows of someone I helped shine. I wasn't going to sue him. I wasn't going to yell. I was going to remind him, and everyone else, that the story he told had a chapter 1, and I wrote it. The night of the launch party came sooner than I expected. This time, it wasn't a retirement gala in my name. It was for him. Holloway Learning Solutions. Global Expansion Celebration. Black tie. Media invited. Investors flown in from 5 states. I didn't wear anything flashy, just a deep gray dress, tailored from one I used to wear to parent-teacher conferences. I had my hair softly curled at the salon downtown. The same stylist I'd gone to for years leaned in and whispered, "Big night." I smiled. You could say that. When I arrived, no one recognized me. Not that I expected they would. To them, I was just another older woman who'd wandered too close to a world that didn't belong to her anymore. One of the staff even offered to show me to the partner's parents' table near the back. I declined. The ballroom was exactly what you'd imagine. Crystal chandeliers, ambient jazz, a champagne fountain no one really touched. Brian was center stage, beaming under the lights. He looked polished, powerful, unreachable. Until I stepped forward, right as the lights dimmed for his opening speech. I walked calmly to the edge of the stage. No security stopped me. No one quite understood what I was doing, including Brian, who saw me, blinked, and forced a smile like I was someone's +1 who'd lost her way. Then I handed a folder to the MC. "I won't be long," I said gently, stepping to the microphone. There was a pause. A murmur. I opened the folder slowly, pulled out the original business license, the one filed 6 years ago, in my name. Then I spoke, not loud, not angry. "I'm not here to ruin anyone's night. I just came to share a piece of the truth, the piece that was left out." I turned the paper so the first few rows could see my signature, dated, notarized. "They say this company was built from the ground up. They're right. But it wasn't built from nothing. It was built from someone. Me." No gasps, no applause. Just a slow, wide silence that settled over the crowd like ash after a fire. And in that silence, I stepped down. No fuss, no drama. Just a mother, not demanding credit, but refusing to be erased. The story didn't go viral. No headlines, no exposés. Just a few whispers in the days that followed. A couple of investors quietly pulled out. A mid-tier tech blog wrote a piece titled "The Woman Behind the Founder." Brian's PR team scrambled to rework the narrative, slipping in a line about how his mother's early support was instrumental. No apology. Just enough backpedaling to calm the surface. But something had shifted. And not just for them. A week later, I received a thick envelope in the mail. Inside was a framed certificate with updated company records. My name listed under founding contributor, small print, off to the side. But there, I didn't hang it. I didn't need to. Instead, I taped it to the inside of my pantry door, right next to a faded crayon drawing of Brian as a boy holding my hand. That picture meant more. Brian didn't call. He didn't show up at my house. But I know he saw me that night, not just physically, but saw me as the person he had rewritten out of his story. And that's the thing about seeing someone clearly again. Once you do, you can't unsee it. A month later, I got a letter, handwritten, 4 lines. "You didn't have to do that, but maybe you did. I'm sorry it took a room full of strangers for me to understand." Brian. I didn't write back. Forgiveness isn't something you owe. It's something you offer when you're ready. And maybe one day I will be. But for now, silence is enough. My life didn't change in some dramatic way. I still live in the same small house with the same uneven kitchen tiles. I still drink the same morning coffee out of the same cracked mug. But something in me has shifted. I walk a little straighter. I breathe a little deeper. And when I look in the mirror, I don't see a woman who gave everything and disappeared. I see a woman who once built a future for someone else and then quietly reclaimed her place in it. To those of you still listening, especially the mothers, grandmothers, the quiet builders no one ever thanked. Have you ever been written out of someone else's story? Not forgotten, but erased. Leave a comment and tell me your story. Not for sympathy, but for truth. Because we've been quiet long enough. We're not asking to be celebrated. We're just saying, don't erase us.